my name is Ciel, and it is my pleasure and honor to be here to share some exciting opportunities with you. Our spiritual learning classes will continue through August 18th, and we have 2 great classes that are available on a drop-in basis. Take your health into your own hands and feel happier, healthier, and more alive in just minutes a day. Trey Boxer is teaching self-care with Touch for Health and acupressure. Is she here? I don't see her. On Monday evenings. On Tuesday evenings, move beyond working your stuff out and learn to cut through it. Pam Austin will show you how to live in balance with cut through using heart math techniques. All experience levels are welcome. Looking for a one-stop workshop to give you a summary of many heart math tools? Join me on Saturday, August 5th, for a workshop learning how and when to effectively use the many heart math techniques. And mark your calendars on October 28th. Feel the love. Share the love and be the love when we reconnect to flower power and groovy vibes at Unity's Fall Fundraiser, the Summer of Love. Love. I'd like to invite Tyler.
Hello, I just happened to be right here. Good morning. So we want to continue our wonderful summer concert series with even more great music. I hope that some of you were able to join us for Jamie Lula last month. This month we have a really special treat. Does anyone remember Charlie Thweet, who has come here and sung? So we're so thrilled to have him back. Not only is he going to do music for the Sunday services, but then he'll stay for a concert at 2 o'clock. So make sure you mark that in your calendars. What we're going to do actually is have a potluck lunch in between the 11:30 service and the 2 o'clock concert. So you can come to 9:30, but then come back at about 12:45 for lunch and bring a potluck dish. We'll enjoy that, and we'll have Charlie with his fabulous voice, his wonderful spirit-filled lyrics. His connection with the audience is really one of his gifts, and he really listens, and every concert with him is different. So really make sure that you have time to do this as a gift to yourself, and bring your friends. Everybody's welcome. That's 2 o'clock next Sunday, the 30th. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tyler. And now you can find out more about these and other activities online and in today's bulletin. And Reverend Kristen, if you'd like to come up to the platform.
Sure, I'll come up to the platform. What should I do? Well, I would like to invite somebody very special to all of us up, and that is Patricia DeMichelle. Now, she's doing this for us because I said, we want to throw you a big party. And she said, oh, no, let's keep it real simple. So the staff took her out this week, and then I sort of begged if she would come before the congregation to let you bless her. Many of you know that Patricia is retiring after 11 years of really dedicated service here. And yeah. And personally, she has been a complete godsend for me, coming in new and having her willing to stay. Because when Reverend David said he was retiring, she said, "Oh, good, I am too." And then everybody said, "Wait!" And she did. 10 months she stayed on to make this transition smooth. And that's because she loves us, and she loves this community so deeply and is so dedicated. And we love you so much, Patricia. I know that Lisa Nichols from the board would like to say thanks and present you with a gift.
Since Patricia started, we've held about plus or minus 1,200 events in this community every year. maybe more, 12 to 1,500 every single year. And Patricia's the one in the background making it all go smoothly. You don't see any blips, anything. While she was here, we did a $2 million renovation of this community. We raised almost $100,000. We spent a year in temporary offices and doing Sunday out of a box at Heather Farm. And gosh, I can't even tell you what we've gone through in the last 11 years, good times and some really, really tough times. And Patricia was always here, and never have I heard her say any gossip. The confidentiality that she's held for this job, which is just so critical for the health of our community, the just unerring, unselfish way that she has done her job has just been tremendous for 11 years. And so really so truly for your dedication and your caring and your loving heart, I'm so pleased to represent the board and to thank you for everything. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and it has been an honor for me to be here, and I love each and every one of you so much. And guess what? I'm going to be a volunteer here now. So you won't get rid of me. I'll be back, and this is my spiritual home, and I love it so much. Thank you.
And we have more for you. We'd like to bless you, Patricia, and then if you'll remain on the stage, we have another thing for you. So it goes on and on. So let's bless Patricia with the blessing that is up on our screen. Patricia, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divine in you. Thank you for your dedicated service to our community. And we mean it from our hearts. Yeah, you can give her a big round of applause. And now I want to invite forward Felicia McBarton, who is our new ministerial assistant. And the two of these wonderful women have been in a training process for the last couple of weeks, and there's so much to the job that it's continuing this week. So we just give thanks for you, Felicia. We're thrilled that you're here as well, taking on this important position, and we want to bless both of you together. Is there anything that you wanted to say?
I just wanted to say I'm really looking forward to supporting each and every one of you. That's part of my role, and supporting Kristen, supporting the home ministry. And I've got a rich background, and I'm just really thankful that I get to bring it all here to serve you. So looking forward to it. Great new adventure.
She does indeed have a very rich background. We are very blessed to have you, Felicia. So now we would like to bless the two of you together in song with Blessing to the World.
All right. If you know this one, sing along with us. You are the heart. You are the heart. You are the hands. You are the voice of spirit on earth. And all you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. Is a blessing to the world. Is a blessing to the world.
free to join in. The lyrics should be popping up in front of you at any moment. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. Once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. My decision right here and now. Give yourselves a hand.
Beautiful rendition. Thank you. Well, it's the original. It's the same as the original. I don't know why I said rendition. Daniel Nahmad song. Ciel is our prayer chaplain today, and Ciel is going to share with you our community prayer as we prepare for our time of meditation.
The word is forgive. In forgiving, I find peace. If I find myself upset or hurt by something another person did or said to me, I may feel justified in holding on to resentment. In that moment, I have a choice to make. Do I perpetuate the injustice by remaining unforgiving? Or do I let Spirit work through me and choose to forgive, thus bringing healing energy into the situation? Forgiveness is a simple yet profound act that frees me to move forward. I do not condone the harmful actions of another, but still, I can find it in my heart to forgive and release the situation. Forgiveness is an expression of God's love through me. With forgiveness, I am able to look for and find the goodness in others, to feel the good in myself. In forgiving, I find peace. And from Mark 11:25, whenever you stand in praying, forgive if you have anything against anyone.
I surrender. I surrender. I'm ready for my change. I forgive me. I forgive me. Everything I have been holding on to, I let go. I surrender. I surrender. I'm ready for my change. I forgive you. I forgive you. Everything I have been holding on to, I let go. I surrender. I surrender. I'm ready for my change. I'm ready for my change. I'm ready for my change.
Resting in the spirit of our beings. And filled with the power of love and its close cousin, forgiveness. I invite you in the open space of your heart to allow the image of someone who you have left out of your heart to arise. It will happen naturally as Spirit shows you the way. Perhaps that person includes the reflection of yourself. And as you continue to breathe and behold this being, I invite you to see that person as a child. To connect with them from your innocence to theirs. Knowing that what each of you want the most is to simply play, have fun, be loved, be safe. Feel the love and the connection of this world. Spirit. And so just a moment of beholding that person. Knowing that they too want fulfillment. They too want to prosper in every way. And with that simple recognition, whatever brought you to keep them outside of your heart begins to dissolve, if only a little bit. Take a moment to feel how the energy moves as you behold the truth. Continuing to breathe through the heart. Continuing to see through the eyes of innocence. Mistakes are made. Misunderstandings happen. And yet, at the end, we turn again to the source of ever-present love. And so during the next few moments of silence, you may want to stay with this individual or let go and allow Spirit to bring another individual to mind. Repeating the practice, or simply allowing yourself to commune with Spirit in the silence. And so now letting go and letting God, giving thanks for the wisdom within you that knows how easy it is to forgive, to let go, and how good it feels for the infinite source of love and prosperity in every way to flow through your heart and being freely, completely unencumbered. Thank you, God. And so it is.
I'm ready for my change. I'm ready for my change. And with me, I'm ready for
about some Don Henley for a change?
These times are so uncertain. There's a yearning undefined. People filled with rage. We all need a little tenderness. How can love survive in such a graceless age? The trust and self-assurance that lead to happiness, they're the very things we kill, I guess. Pride and competition cannot fill these empty arms, and the work we put between us, you know it doesn't keep me warm. I'm finding the power within me now, but it's hard sometimes. The more I know, the less I understand. All the things I thought I figured out, I have to learn again. And I've been trying to get down to the heart of the matter, but everything changes. And my friends seem to scatter, but I think it's about forgiveness. Forgiveness, and now it's time for me to love me even more. There are people in my life who've come and gone. You know they let me down, and they hurt my pride. I better put it all behind me, 'cause life goes on. If I keep carrying that anger, it'll eat me up inside. And I've been trying to get down to the heart of the matter. My will gets weak, and my thoughts seem to scatter, but I think it's about forgiveness. Forgiveness, and now it's time for me to love me. And I've been trying to get down to the heart of the matter, but my will gets weak, and my thoughts seem to scatter, so I'm thinking about forgiveness. Forgiveness, and now it's time to love myself. Forgiveness, 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 and now it's time to love each other even more.
Thank you. A hand for the band. All right.
Thank you, Andoni. What a perfect song. Has anybody wondered what we're talking about today? Yeah. Thank you for the music team that planned so well to hit that theme. And when it's forgiveness, it helps us if we get reminded over and over again, doesn't it, sometimes? Especially if we're in the midst of something that is difficult for us to forgive, or we're in the process and it's not fun. It can be fun, but sometimes it's not. So, it's interesting to me, it occurs to me that when we are hurt, or when we hurt someone else, there seems to be two choices in our response. One is obviously to forgive, to let it go, to let the energy flow, which is why this is one of our pillars of prosperity in this series. Forgiveness is something that helps us free the blocks so the good can flow. Where our heart is tied up in grudges, resentments, ill will, bad feelings, the flow can't operate as freely. So one choice is forgiveness, the obvious one, and then the other choice is retaliation. And retaliation is a pretty big continuum, right? It can be from the extremes of reactivity, of you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you, and maybe I'm going to hurt you worse. That kind of retaliation that we see a lot in our world, the violence, and what's underneath that? The scramble of scarcity, right? The not enough. And then there's on that continuum, there's places where we want to punish others in some, maybe just withdraw our love in some way, or we want to punish ourselves because we feel guilty for whatever it is that we've done. And so we don't forgive ourselves. So we all know what the choice is that is the most prosperous choice, right? Between forgiveness and retaliation. We know it up here. But when we're hurt sometimes, we must work through a process. And it is a process. It's not simply lip service to this idea that we think is making us a good spiritual being. Forgiveness is something that's talked about in all the religions of the world, in the world philosophies. It's one of those things where we say, in Unity, we talk about the many paths to the one, that we honor all these paths. Well, if you really look at those paths and you get to kind of the essence of what the values are, forgiveness is certainly one of those that stands in all of them. The Buddha said that holding on to a hot coal with the intention to throw it at somebody else, holding on to that anger as if it's a hot coal with the intention to throw it at somebody else, guess who gets burned? We do, of course. Jesus said famously, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." Understanding that somebody else is doing the best they can, or the collective consciousness is just at a certain level. And so it's just an acknowledgement of that if we knew what we were doing, we wouldn't be doing it. If we knew the consequences. Confucius said to be wronged is nothing unless you continue to remember it. And there's an Arabic parable that says, write the bad things in life that happen to you in sand. Write the good things on a piece of marble. Lots of wisdom around the world, all pointing to this ideal of forgiveness. And so what is it that stops us from forgiving? I think in a lot of cases, it's that we think that another person will not be held accountable unless we punish them by not forgiving them. Or we think ourselves, the best way to hold ourselves accountable is to not forgive ourselves and to wallow in these bad feelings of guilt or shame even. And yet, we don't need to police the world. There are laws that do that, spiritual laws, namely, but also societal laws and also group agreements. And so we don't really need to worry so much about the accountability piece. That's kind of taken care of for us, so we can let that go. And we can instead look and see, do I want to be happy? Do I want to be free? Do I want to be fulfilled? Do I want to be at peace? That's the real question that sits with forgiveness. And if the answer is yes, then it's time to engage in the process. Now, some of you may be sitting here thinking, well, I've done that work and I don't really have anything to forgive. And to that kind of bravado, I usually have the same response. If we're here on the planet still, chances are we still have feelings, we still have needs, and we still get hurt. And there's still forgiveness work to do. It's pretty much part of being a human divine being. And so what we can do then is to embrace some practices that keep us clean, if you will, every day. So there may be some deeper woundedness, some old stuff that gets triggered, and that can use some deeper processing. And there's lots of great resources and tools available to us for that. But there's also just the little day-to-day slights. You know, the things that we forget about by the end of the day. The judgments that we had maybe of somebody in the store or somebody on the road or somebody close to us. You know, the exchange we had with our spouse before they walked out the door in the morning. And we've forgotten about that by the end of the day and let it go because that's what we do, or we thought we let it go. And so I want to invite you to consider a practice that's really simple and really freeing, and I guarantee will help you with the flow of prosperity. And by prosperity, I mean, again, as we've defined it, everything. You know, the prosperity of life, of goodness, of relationship and fulfilling work and money and all of it. And so it's just simply, and you can do it maybe as you're going to sleep at night, just before you go to sleep, when you lie down, and just dropping in and asking that question that we asked in meditation, who have I left outside of my heart today? And just see what arises. You may be really surprised at what comes. And then every day, then just, because it's easy to do when it's those small things that just happen in the day and you let it go. It's not something you've been hanging on to for all day or all week or for, 20 years. It's just today, some little thing happened and it keeps things clean. And so then blessing that person and that situation and letting it go. And bringing in the light and the love of God to do the work for you. So simple processes. You know, a lot of times when we're in financial debt and then that debt is paid off, what is the word that we use when a debt is paid off? Forgiven. Yeah, the debt is forgiven. That's no mistake. And so where we have debt in our lives, even financial debt, we can look and see, or where we have ebb in our finances. This is what I do. Whenever I have an ebb in my own finances, I first look to see if I'm up to speed on my tithing. Because the belief that I hold and that has always worked well for me is that first 10% of my income goes to where I'm spiritually fed. And so I really sit with that question, where have I been spiritually fed, and tithe 10% of my income. It's not even mine. It's God's, it's Spirit's. And that practice really works for me. And that's a prosperity practice I want to invite you to really consider if you have not yet. For a lot of us, that makes our knees quiver. And, I remember going to a prosperity class with my sister, my very first Unity class. And I had to practically pry the check out of her hand. I was like, let go, but it's a lot of money. Let go, it's going to be okay, to get us into that process. But then the second place I look is not about tithing, but it's about forgiveness. Is there something that I'm hanging on to? Is there some block, some place in my life where I could be freeing up the space so that the channel of good can flow freely through me? And typically one of those two things will clear the way. Robert Holden, the psychologist, said, true forgiveness is a willingness to change your mind. It's a willingness, he says, to believe, number one, that you are whole, and number two, that no one and nothing can threaten your wholeness. So it's a real standing in spirit, isn't it? This idea that forgiveness is just simply a willingness to change our mind, to turn towards spirit, and to remember once again, I am a divine whole being, and nothing and no one can threaten that. I think it's one of the best definitions of forgiveness I've ever read, so I keep sticking with it. Some of you may know Colin Tipping's work, especially because Sheila, your former associate minister here, was one of the few trained people in radical forgiveness that's still actively teaching. Do some of you know radical forgiveness? Oh yeah, a lot of you. Good. Well, for some of you, this will be a review, but just in a nutshell, I want to talk about the 5 steps to radical forgiveness. The first step is to tell your story. So if there's something in your life that you know, or someone in your life where there's some of these ill feelings, and there are worksheets actually at colintipping.com that you can just download and work with. The first step is just to tell the story. So you can write it out. If you have somebody that you can tell who can be a compassionate listener, that's a wonderful space to be able to tell your story, just as it happened, just as you see it with all of its interpretation. Then the second step is, and it probably will happen as you're telling the story, especially if you have a listener who can hold that kind of compassionate space, or if you yourself, as you're writing, can kind of create that space for yourself, is to feel the feelings. This is one that a lot of us on this journey like to bypass, spiritual bypass. You know, oh yeah, I don't have any feelings, I don't have any needs, you know, or I'm over that already, or, you know. And so once again, we can't really access our divinity if our ego is standing in the way saying, I've been there, done that. And so we want to really meet and greet the feelings that are present and really be real about that and embrace those and allow those so that we can open the way and be freed. The third step is something that you might have heard from an old TV show called Dragnet. Do you remember that one? Just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. This is where we collapse the story. And so when we collapse the story, we just collapse it down to the facts and we retell it only factually. Wow, does the story get short? It's amazing. It goes from this novella to like a few sentences. and most of us will just keep looking, oh, there must be more to this than that. And so we realize that most of the story has been authored by our own minds and our own perceptions. And so to get to this place now where it's just facts, it takes the energy out of it. And now we can just look and say, oh, that's what happened. So-and-so said that to me, and it hurt my feelings. Wow. And then we can reframe the story. So the fourth step is to retell this story now as our story of breakthrough, our prosperity story, our story that is our soul's story, really, that is retold in this light of what really happened for our good. And as we reframe that story, it just frees the energy right there. You know, somebody said once that life is 5% what happens to us and 95% what we make of it. This is where that really comes into play, to recognize that and then to reframe and retell that story in its reframed way. And notice what a difference it has for you when you tell the new story, the story of triumph. We're going to work with stories of triumph from this community in our next series. But when you tell that breakthrough story, there's a whole different energy. There's an inspiration to it. And you know how it is when you hear somebody tell a story that drains you with all the victim-y details in the first step versus somebody who tells you the story of how they broke through and you feel inspired, right? I could do that too. The fifth step is to integrate the story. And integrating the story is especially helpful if we bring it into the physical, if we allow it into our cellular makeup. And so you could walk your story or swim your story or move, in whatever, dance your story, do yoga and be allowing that new reframed story to move through you in your Tai Chi or your yoga or your Qigong, whatever movements you like to do. Or you can record that story. So writing out that story or recording it in some way may be another way that helps you really integrate it. And that's the last step in radical forgiveness. Gillian Stokes said, "Forgiveness does get easier with practice, yet those who forgive as a reflex action are either saintly, less than totally honest about their feelings, or not in touch with their feelings at all." That reflects back to that second step where some of us might get stuck as spiritual beings, interpreting the spiritual journey as one that doesn't include those things. So true forgiveness, again, is a willingness to change your mind about yourself, a willingness to believe you are whole and no one can threaten or take away your wholeness. Did anybody ever hear of Pablo Escobar? He was a big drug lord in Colombia, the most famous one of all. He controlled at one time 80% of the global cocaine market. In 1993, he was killed in a shootout with Colombian police. And he left children behind. One of them was Sebastian Mariquin. And Sebastian had a different take on life. In fact, he even said that Pablo, his father, taught the children pretty solid values at home, but then he went out in the world and lived quite differently. And so Sebastian saw another way, an opportunity. But these family, ancestral ties of retaliation and generations of it go way back. And so he decided while he was exiled in Argentina that he would begin to reach out to the children of his father's arch enemies who were no longer living. And first he sent letters, and then he asked if they could meet. And when they did meet, he asked for forgiveness on behalf of his father. And he told them his side of the story a little bit and what his experience was like growing up. And this was so profound that Nicholas Entel, a filmmaker in Argentina, heard about it, and he wanted to make a documentary. So he did make a documentary of this process that you can watch called Pecados de mi Padre, or Sins of My Father. So Sebastian's work ended up forging, not only through forgiveness, moving away some of the things that had happened before and dropping some of the resentments and the ill will and stopping the retaliation and the violent cycle in some cases, but even forged friendships. He said, "This is my greatest hope and conviction that we can have peace, that two arch enemies, sons, are now friends." And he's become friends, good friends, with some of these sons that he reached out to. And the thing is that his work not only was healing for him and for the sons and for the families, but really for the ancestral lines and for much of the country. So this is something that then feeds everyone. And it's true too for us when we forgive individuals, that there is a much greater ripple effect in the forgiveness and the prosperity that we give to one another in so doing. When we engage in this wholeness that Robert Holden talks about, we move into that place of infinite possibility. And sometimes the stories we hear are so amazing, so hard to imagine that forgiveness is possible. And I want to tell you one of those stories now to close out and invite our musicians up to help me with this story. So this story comes from South Africa, and it was during the time of the Truth and Reconciliation, which may still be going on actually, post-apartheid Truth and Reconciliation courtroom experiences. An elderly black woman is facing somebody who has perpetrated murders in her family. And the way the Truth and Reconciliation Councils work is that the victim of the crimes gets to state what they would like to have happen. And so Officer Van der Broek was the person who was in charge of these vicious attacks on her family. First, it was coming into their home and shooting their 18-year-old son at point-blank range. And then Van der Broek and his fellow officers partying while they burned her son's body. Then coming back 8 years later and taking her husband. Coming back hours later that evening and forcing her to come and watch as they poured gasoline on her husband's body and burned it for the color of his skin. And while she was watching this horrific experience right before her eyes of her loved one, he turned to her and he said, "Forgive them." Those were his last words to her. Now, many years later, she's standing in a courtroom facing Officer Vonderbrock. And the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, this is a true story, asks her what she wants. "I want 3 things, she says. The first thing is I want Officer Vonderbrock to drive me to the place where they burned my husband's body, and I want to gather up the dust so I can give him a proper burial because he never had one. Number 2, I want Officer Vonderbrock to know that he took away all the family that I have, and I've got a lot of love to give. So what I would like Officer Vonderbrock to do is to come to the ghetto twice a month to visit me so that I may be a mother to him." And the third thing is that I want him to know that God has forgiven him, and I forgive him too. And just so he can feel that my forgiveness is real and true, could somebody please help me across the courtroom so that I may embrace him? And so as somebody begins to help her, Officer Vonderbrock faints. And somebody in the courtroom begins to sing this familiar song, and everybody chimes in. This may very well be what that courtroom felt and sounded like that day.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to love, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. When we've been here 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Everybody. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was blind, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen, for reminding us that our forgiveness is not only a gift to us, but to our brothers and sisters all around us. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for singing Amazing Grace. That was pretty cool, wasn't it? What a great way to end a talk. Not a sermon. Because people tell me, you're going to be a minister? You're going to do sermons? No. I'm going to do a talk. So thank you for your talk. So our prayer chaplains, I don't mean so. That's not what I mean. Rewind that. Our prayer chaplains are available after the service to help provide personal prayer support. They are wearing the lavender stoles because they have lavender souls. So whether you have a joy or a concern that you would like to share with them in prayer, please go see them after the service, and they will do that with you. It is a powerful opportunity to have your intentions raised up in consciousness. So let us now open our hearts to the consciousness of giving as we align our universal law of circulation. As we give, we shall receive. For in truth, there is no lack or limitations. Abundance is our true nature. And we know this when we forgive. Because when we forgive, we open the door of the flowing of that abundance that we are. Amen? Amen. Yo, bro? Yo, bro. All right. There are a variety of ways to financially give to this community. For credit card donations, use PushPay on your smartphone or take an envelope from the clipboard in the back of the chairs in front of you. Those of you at home can also use PushPay or click the donation button on the Watch Live page. And if you would please take your tithe in your hand and join me in our blessing. And together, divine love, one with me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful.
All right, so we're going to go to a little higher ground now that we've all been working hard to get up there.
People keep on learning. Soldiers keep on warring. World keep on turning, 'cause it won't be too long. Powers keep on lying, while your people keep on dying. World keep on turning, 'cause it won't be too long. Oh yeah. So darn glad he let me try it again, 'cause my last time on earth I lived a whole world of sin. So glad that I know more than I knew then. Gonna keep on trying till I reach my highest ground. Woo. Teachers keep on teaching. Kristen keep on preaching. World keep on turning, 'cause it won't be too long. believers, keep on believing. Sleepers, just stop sleeping, 'cause it won't be too long. So darn glad he let me try it again. 'Cause my last time on earth I lived a whole world of sin. I'm so glad that I know more than I knew then. Gonna keep on trying till I reach my highest ground. Don't let nobody bring you down. Till I reach my highest ground. Let God show you higher ground. Here we go. Let God show you higher ground. Thank you. All right.
Thank you for bringing us up to higher ground. And if you choose to look down, I highly recommend you check out David Brooks' shoes today for a smile. Let's give thanks for this good that is held here as a symbol of our abundant, flowing goodness, love, and forgiveness. Let it go. Whatever you're hanging on to, let it go. It's not worth it. Think of the woman in that courtroom and what she did. You can let it go. Let's bless this together. We give thanks for the ever-increasing, unceasing flow of absolute good in our lives now. Amen. Let's sing our children in. Wow, hello, amazing children. Talk about cool shoes. We got this thing going on today. So, Lonnie, I know that I saw you late in the day with lots of workers yesterday, and I'd like to hear a little bit about Circulation Day, because you guys worked really hard to bring something beautiful to our community.
Yeah. First, I want to thank all of you for making Circulation Day so beautiful, and the gifts that support the youth program, but beyond the supporting of the youth program, how we support our community, and how everything that we have out there that you have all donated, we give it away for free, and they're open to leave a love donation. But the hearts that we touch from that experience, it's just amazing. So I just want to thank you, and for all the people that worked there and made it beautiful for the whole world. We are so grateful that you can come to a place and get whatever you want and know that there's no attachment and you can walk away. So thank you.
And I want to say a special thank you to you, Lonnie, because I'm telling you, I know that they worked really hard in a very hot sun all day with physical labor. And I came over at the end of the day and I'm talking to Lonnie, and I could tell she's hot and exhausted, and she's telling me with that same enthusiasm and heart of giving to the community what we have given. So that's a heart of service right there. Yeah. Well, let's bless our children who are also, by the way, tracking with our Prosperity series along with us. So together, youth and teachers, you are loved, special, and important. The light of God shines through you. All right, let's close out with our prayer, protection, and peace song. and you're welcome to grab a hand nearby. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Peace on. You are the light and the love and the peace on earth right now. So let your light shine and have fun.